Hello and welcome to Think About It. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and I invite you to tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. So today, my guest is Al Wynant, and I'm going to give you a itty bitty bit more info. But today, I titled the program Lead Wholly, and that's WHOLLY, not HOLY. Now, the reason I titled it that is because I do a lot of leadership coaching and a lot of leadership work. And I know that leadership is not just a title. And in order to be a good leader, and in my mind, you need to develop your whole self. And that's what we're going to talk about today. There's many ways to maximize our strengths and our resources to help us improve our leadership competencies personally and professionally. And today, Al, who is co-founder and his unofficial title, Eternal Explorer at Ingomu Learning, LLC, will share how we can engage in a holistic, now that's a HOLIS, a holistic approach to fulfilling our career advancement, our health and our wellness, and our personal development pursuits. So Al, welcome to Think About It.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, and our viewers and listeners are going to find out a lot more about how we're interconnected and how we're related. But the first question I always ask my guests is, so how did you get to where you are? And I don't mean by car or by bus. I mean, what's your background highlights to get you into the leadership development and coaching world?
So it's an interesting story, sort of very high level here, because I can talk for, as you know, very long. But I've always had this need to help people in the big scheme of things. And I never really found sort of the right path to do that. So a couple of years ago, we had a different software company, and we worked with a lot of coaches and a lot of speakers. And I was like, these people have a lot of really meaningful things to share. And so they came to us and they said, we want to do something with this. We want to monetize our content. And that was just like, boom, light bulb went off. It's like, I can do something to meet that goal of, helping the world out there, my lofty goal. And so we built something and it became a courses platform. And I stepped back and this is not really what I need to do. This isn't solving the problems out there. There are some great tools out there already. Why are we reinventing the wheel? So we stepped back and kind of went, how does what we want to do, like making a positive impact on the world by helping as many people as possible, how do we do that? And so again, this light bulb, and I was like, we can work with coaches because everyone can benefit from coaches. So over the 2 years since we started this process, we developed this Ingomu platform we'll talk about, and that sort of finally puts me in a place where I feel that I can finally, myself and the company, kind of meet our goal of helping as many people as possible. So very quick overview, obviously, of how we got here. But I sort of feel like we're in a really great place to make a positive difference.
Cool. So when I'm thinking and somebody's thinking about leadership, I want to be a leader. Does that have to be in business, or can you be a leader? Now, what's a leader in your perspective?
So to me, a leader is not about titles. It's really more about behaviors. So it's not about me as an individual. Yes, I'm in a leadership position in the company, but it's not about me. It's, about everyone else around me. So how can I, how do I tie that back to my mission of, helping everybody around me, so to speak? So I look at it from a, perspective of how can I uplift my team? How can I guide my team? How can I make them better in what they're doing? So it's really getting your team united behind, the values of your company. You're getting behind them. So one of my favorite questions as we do job interviews is basically, why do you work? And how can we help you with that? And usually the funny part to me is it's like, as a leader, I look at this and it's like, what are they going to tell me? And usually it's like, I just want to help people. That's not why you work. Why do you really work? And so you delve deep into that. So you try to find what is the value, and how can we support that as a company, as a leader? And for some people is this, when I retire, I want to sail around the world. Well, they're going to have to make a lot of money. So how can we help them with that? Or, I want to help 1 million people out there. What does that look? So how can we support that? So it's really like, how do you encourage? How do you lead a team to be better versions of themselves, to be better versions of a company? And it's never about you as the individual. I try to stay sort of away from everything. It's very, very uncomfortable for me to do interviews like this because I'm not, I'm usually on your side, Sylvia, as we have talked about. But it's much more, it's how do you really uplift your team? I think that's what a leader's role is, setting a best example and so on. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And also you like you were saying, it's not a job title. So you can be a leader of the family too. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
without not in the team or not working. Um, yeah,
It's your family, it's your friends, it's your colleagues, it's your church you go to, it's anybody you're engaged with. You should show leadership there and help them. So that's how it's not the job title.
yeah. So I'm sure as I made the introduction, people are like, he's what and what? So so and it's taken a long time to say Ingomu and think I've said it right. So what in the world is that word all about? And how did you come up with that name for a company?
So Ingomu is actually a fun word, and you always, as you look for a name of your company, you want to come up with something that's unique, that people are going to have a conversation about, like, what's this Ingomu thing? So we wanted to have something that made sense for what we do. So Ngomu is actually a portmanteau of two different words. It's learning or even coaching and community. So the ing and then the omu. Sorry, I always have to think about that one. So how do you put those two together makes Ngomu. And so I've always felt, and the reason why we called it this way and what it's based on, because I've always felt that coaching and learning, it's not just something you do. You learn, you absorb, you implement, and so that's what we call learning communities. So you get together with, other people who are subscribing to the app. You get together with your coaches. You form an engaging community around a specific topic or an issue or cause that you're working on, and you all bring each other up. Again, part of that, how can we make the world a better place? So that's in essence what Ingomu is all about. So that's how we came up with the name. And it's a funny name.
And so, okay, so a couple of other terms that you just kind of introduced to us. You emphasize learning community and coaching. Now, I've had interviews with other coaches in the past, and for a more general, why should you have a coach? Why should you engage a coach? What does a coach do? That kind of thing. In the context of being a leader or developing myself as a leader, what's specific? Why get a coach and why be a part of a learning community?
That's a really good question. So just sort of to be academic about it, I mean, coaching is quite important. If you look at some of the numbers, and I'm going to read this off right now. The International Coach Federation, say that 80% of the people who receive coaching, they really report an increase in self-esteem. That's an amazing number. 70% benefit of improved work performance, relationships, and so on. And then companies, when they engage in coaching with their employees, they get 86% of the companies report that they've really recouped their investment. Those are astonishing numbers. But coaching, to me, as I look at coaching and as we talk about it in the company, people who need, I mean, everybody can use coaching, everybody needs coaching. And fortunately, unfortunately, in the big scheme of things, one coach cannot solve everybody's issues.
Mm.
So you may, for example, want to be more successful in your job or something. But what that means to Sylvia is completely different what it means to me, Al. So how can you cannot just go to a career coach, a career advancement coach who works on leadership, for example, because I may come in and it may be for me that I need to learn how to manage a team better. I may want to go for a promotion, and I may want to, for example, as part of that, I may need to learn how to speak in front of an audience or pitch proposals or be better in sales. But at the same time, I may be slightly overweight and always tired and don't have the energy. So for me, it means different things, from health and wellness to career advancement, leadership development. But for another person, that means something different. So when we say learning communities, it really means for a subscriber, for a learner, for a coachee to have access to lots of different coaches, lots of different opportunities to work on all of these different pieces. I always think it's funny when coaches come in and say, I can coach on everything. It's like, no, you are a coach and you're really good at a couple of issues. And that's, and that's what you work on. But I think it's, coaching is not therapy and coaching is not workshops and classes. What I think is really beautiful about coaching and why it's so unique for everyone is a coach is going to make you think and work through different things. So it'll be mostly, how do you feel about this? How do you work through that? What does that mean to you? So you start thinking about stuff and you start changing potentially behaviors and how you do things and kind of come to, they're now basically, here's the 3 steps you have to take to do this. It's, what could your 3 steps be? And that's such a beautiful way on how they guide their coachees, their learners through these processes. So, and I'm rambling right now, so I'm not sure. I'm hoping I'm answering your question here. But I think coaching is such an important resource to everybody. Again, at work, at home, in families, and so on, to just work through different things you may need to work through.
So you just identified kind of the holistic approach that a leader, a good leader, needs to look at many different areas of his or her life. You've created, and there's courses out there that are, there's free webinars and courses and all manner of speaker and everybody else that teaches leadership. You have created, with help, of course, but you've created a unique tool that we're going to really dig into in the second half of the program. But before we break, talk a little bit about this tool that you developed that provides all of this in one spot.
So it's an app where we got subscribers, we call them learners, again, tied to learning communities, have access to 60 plus coaches. So today you can come in and you may have to work on something related to your career, but tomorrow you may have a 16-year-old kid who goes, Dad, you need to learn how to have those communications. And next week, maybe your mom or your dad may need to go to assisted living. How do you deal with that? All of that impacts your life. And in so many, yes, you can take a quick little course on that, but everything is so individual and is so, you deal with this on your own world. There's no prescription for it. So how do you come to a live? So we do this 2 different ways. We have the live virtual group setting. So you can come in and you're not watching a video or a YouTube video. So there's great place for all of that or great use for all of that. But in our cases, you actually go into a coach's session with a live coach who is coaching and also able to answer your questions as you go through the session. And then those sessions are always recorded. So if you want to go back to something, or if you want to see something on demand or binge watch a coaching session, you can always do that as well. Because you may need, there may not be a live session until next week, but you really want to work on an issue, then you can dial into that session and watch that session and still engage with the coach by posting questions that then the coach can engage with. So it's like having those resources available 24/7 for the subscribers or learners to have access to as they're working through different things of their life: career development, personal advancement, career advancement, personal development, and health and wellness.
Cool. And we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to dig into this app a lot more. And so that folks really get a sense of, so how do I pursue one of these categories? So with that, we'll be right back.
Our dear fellow Americans, vaccines are a huge step forward. We still need to do the simple things that we know work.
Wear a mask, wash our hands frequently, and maintain social distance.
Now it's up to you.
Hello, welcome back to Think About It. I'm still Sylvia Henderson, your host, and Al is still my guest, Al Wynant, who is the co-founder and what title did I tell? Eternal Explorer, that's in his email signature, of Ingomu Learning community. Well, for lack of more definition, Ingomu Learning is the actual formal name of the app. And we were just talking about the app prior to the break. I want to get deep now into it. So people who are listening and watching are like, app, okay, so how do I get this app and where is it and what do I do with it? So
that's very easy. You can go to the Google Play Store and just type in Ingomu in the search. It's INGOMU. And then basically that will come up so you can download it, and you have a 7-day free trial that gives you full access to the whole app. So to all the coaches and all their live sessions and the recorded sessions. And after 7 days, there's a subscription of, monthly subscription or an annual subscription, sorry. It's either $39 a month or $3.99 for the year. And that's basically the value of 1 hour of coaching. You get a whole year of 60 plus coaches and you have access to those. So go to ingomu.com, or you can go to the Google Play Store and download it there. And it will be on the iOS later on this year as well, which is Apple.
I'm thrilled. I'm an Android person, so I'm thrilled that it's Android first instead of Apple first. So we've been talking about the holistic development of a good leader. And we mentioned some categories, and we talked about personal development, we talked about health and wellness, talked about career development, at least mentioned them. Are those the categories that are in the app?
Those are the broad categories that are in the app to make browsing, very easy for the learners on it. But if you look, for example, at career advancement, there's a lot of different things under that. Anything from entrepreneurship, how to sell, how to be a good leader, how to communicate better, and so on. And as we know, we as entrepreneurs, we get very easily distracted. So Sylvia is one of our coaches as well, who can keep us on track. So that's beautiful as well. So there's a lot of different pieces in there. We have about 25 or 26 different coaches who work on career advancement. So there's many different layers in there. How do you speak? How do you do a presentation? How do you tell your story? That's all an important part of running a business, being an entrepreneur. So all of that is in there.
And the term that I heard when I was working for corporate is being intrapreneurial also. So if you're working for a company and you want to develop yourself better as a leader, a lot of the entrepreneurial qualities and skills, serve you well when you're working for a company also. So that, yeah.
I think with companies, I think companies are used to bringing in resources for their employees, but I think, now as companies that have evolved and getting a little bit more aware of these different things, it used to be let's bring in a speaker or a coach to work on one specific issue, but we really start looking at more from a whole human being perspective. If somebody is unhappy at home, or they're having health and wellness issues, or they're dealing with their parents or anything like that, or kids issues, that does not make them the best in their job. So how do we give resources to an individual as a company, or myself as a subscriber to the app? How do I get all of these resources at my fingertips to make myself a better employee, a better husband, a better family member, whatever that may be, versus just let's bring in a speaker to work on this one particular issue today, which is important as well. I'm not going to say that's not important, but it's a much more holistic, big picture approach.
Well, but of course, in the industrial revolution of tomorrow now, as we're with the hybrid workplace and the work from home and whatever term you want to use, this is even more important because it's an app and you can access it as an individual from anywhere. And now companies are less and less bringing in the speaker, and more it's on us as an individual to get our own personal development done. So this is, you're right on time. So what
I think it's really hard.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I just think it's really hard right now with the work from home aspect of it. I just read an article this weekend about one company, the name escapes me now, and they're letting their 40,000 workers work from home now for the future, for the foreseeable future at least. It's like, how do you even bring people together for a speaker? It is so hard in all the time zones all across the world. So having those resources available that are more, accessible at your time, anywhere, any place, that's important right now.
So you've got a couple other categories. Health and wellness. Is that all about, I've got to eat healthy and I've got to exercise, or is there other stuff in there?
It's interesting. So we look at health and wealth. Yes, it's important. Eating well, learning how to exercise, important stuff. But we also have learning communities in there that deal with, I have cancer. How do I go through this? I have debt. I'm trying to get out of debt. that affects your health and wellness. So that is part of that. There's also, I'm dealing with chronic pain. How do I prevent that? How do I work with that so I don't become addicted to medication? So all of those different pieces fit into that. So it's not just exercise and eat well. It is part of it, but it's a much bigger picture of the different things that we're doing in there with the health and wellness. Again, touching on a lot of different points in that part of health and wellness.
And
There's also mindfulness, relaxing yoga, and so on.
And to be clear, some of those topics that you just mentioned, they are not substitutes for going to a doctor.
Correct. So yes, thank you for saying that. None of our learning communities, especially on the health and wellness side, are not a substitute for not taking your meds and not going to a doctor and not following those instructions. They're in addition to things that you can do to be aware of. Breathing exercises. You can do these stretches and so on to make your life better, or to make it more livable. I'm not sure if that's the right way of saying it. Provide those resources as part of that. So it is things that help on top of your regular treatment, obviously, as part of that. So.
And of course, you have the personal development category, which some of the other items you mentioned seem like they are personal development. But what's in that personal development category?
Again, it's 20 plus coaches who work in that particular area, and some of those are dealing simply with self-esteem. How do you deal with with your parents who need to go to a nursing home I talked about earlier. It is also about how do I have difficult conversations with my children? How do I take care of myself? Suddenly my 12-year-old kid comes and talks to me about the birds and the bees. How do I do that? We have resources for that, or we have a coach for that. When you have kids, for example, with autism, and you want to work with, you want to do a great job there, we have coaches for that as well. So again, a wide variety of coaches that holistically fit together in that area. So, and I'm taking a sneak peek at the list here to my left.
Okay.
As part of that, mentorship is part that kind of goes under career advancement. We have diversity. Is part of our conversation. Chronic pain, we've talked about a little bit. Are you stressed about money? Learning how to invest. We're not going to give you investment advice, but what things do you look at, and how do you get smart around that? So we have stuff around that as well. So lots of different, about 67, 68 coaches right now who are working with us through the app.
So we're used to this. We get 5 things and then you have to pay extra for the next 5 or the next, or I have to mix and match it. I can only pick 10 coaches. I mean, is there any restriction in this app, or once a viewer or listener downloads the app, they have access to all of these and they can just kind of click through? And I mean, this is like amazing.
So yes, so once you subscribe to the app, either monthly or annually, you have access to all of the coaches. So it's kind of like a scheduled, so they're on a schedule. Some coaches have a weekly session, some have a bi-weekly session, few have a monthly session. And basically you have access to those live sessions. It's almost like you look at the TV schedule and when the sessions are. It's like Netflix for coaches, we call it. So you can go jump in live as part of that. Or you can then, if you can join live, or you want to experience a session again, you can watch it then on demand later on at any time, anywhere, basically from your phone or a tablet as part of that. So yes, you have access. There's one thing that we are adding in the future is where maybe as an individual, you want to work a little bit deeper with a coach on a specific subject matter that you may not want to do in group. So we'll make available one-on-one bookings with coaches, which will require an additional fee because you get that one-on-one higher level, personal coaching in essence. So that will become available in a few months. But we really wanted to get our learners, to work with our coaches, build trust with our coaches, see the value of it before we even go there right now. So there's no restrictions.
Wow. Can I tell my manager about this?
You're more than welcome to use an individual. We encourage it. But we also make it available to companies. So if somebody in a company is interested, you can go to our website at ingomu.com. And there's a little tab on top that says for employers, I believe. So you can click on that and get some more information. So yes, you can implement this app for your whole team, for a department, for a team, for the whole company. We'd love it, of course. But you can do that. You can do that as well. And then your employees can obviously work on what they need to work on when they want to work on it. So.
Wow, cool. If I look in the App Store, I see tons of I see all kinds of apps for personal development and all that. And it's like, some individual probably created an app and they got it offered. What's behind the Ingomu app? I mean, is that a whole company? Like, this is real stuff.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say fortunately in this case, I'm not a developer, so no, it's not just me behind here. I have a co-founder, we have a team. So it has been a long process in the big scheme of things, because you can't just launch an app in the App Store and, suddenly the coaches will start showing up. We really spent a year and a half, recruiting coaches. We wanted to make sure that our coaches really are a cohesive, holistic team of people fitting together. We have coaches all over the world who we've worked with for a year and a half and who have been incredibly gracious staying with us as we develop this app. And then the app is available obviously in the App Store as part of that. So no, it's a team of people. We have about 70 to 80 people who have been part of this process. It's been an amazing process. We've all grown a little bit more gray in the but it's just been an amazing process, and I'm incredibly thankful for everybody who has been behind the scenes. I just happen to be the face sometimes of this, but there's been an amazing team behind the scenes who've made this come through. So I'm very grateful for that.
Awesome. Once again, then, to wrap up, final word for leadership with using the Ingomu app as a resource.
So it's not about you as a leader, it's about your team, it's about the people around you, your family, and so on. And by providing, if you happen to want to use the Ingomu app, we love it, but by providing the resources to your team, to your family, to the people around you, to make them better as human beings, because they will raise you up as well. They will raise up your company, everybody else around you. So it's not about you, it's about them.
Awesome. Al, thank you so much for being my guest today. And
thank you.
For viewers and listeners, as usual, I want you to tune in, take what you see and you heard, and, well, think about it. Get the app, and I invite you to make a great day.